Hey, everybody, welcome to Breakfast All Day. Alonso here with Matt and with Christy. And the much discussed and occasionally postponed Green Knight is finally in theaters for May 24, and Matt's going to tell us all about it.
Dev Patel is not the
Not.
Green Knight. He plays Gawain, nephew of King Arthur, who at this point in the history of the Round Table, in this version, has not become a knight yet, wants to make a name for himself, but isn't there. And his mother is a sorceress, witch, and he has a relationship with a local girl played by Alicia Vikander. And one day around Christmas, actually on Christmas, I believe, there's a big feast, and King Arthur says, "Hey, come sit with me. I don't know you enough, nephew." And lo and behold, this big Green Knight shows up and offers a game, which is somebody deliver a blow to me, and 1 year I'll deliver the same blow. And Excalibur gets handed to Gawain, who promptly cuts off the Green Knight's head. And then we see the Green Knight pick up his head, says, "Back in a year." And over the course of the year, or Gawain has to seek him out. And over the course of the year, Gawain frets and then goes on his journey to find the Green Knight. On his way, he comes to a castle where there is a older lord and a lady played by also Alicia Vikander. This has got a lot of the Green Knight myth in it. It's definitely its own take on it. And there are various versions of all these Arthurian legends. This movie is gorgeous to look at. Absolutely gorgeous. This is worth seeing on the big screen just because of the spectacle of it. And the way that the pictures are painted on the screen are just jaw-dropping in some places. And it's dramatic and it's dreamlike, and it sometimes gets away from everybody. I mostly like this, but it felt like it starts to get inside its own head too much and gets a little too hard to follow. But for the most part, I like this. And I think Dev Patel, this is a terrific role for him. He's really good at playing this knight who wants to do well, but then gets caught up in his own arrogance, but then also gets scared. And he plays haggard very well in a way that, like, we haven't seen an action hero do, I think, since maybe Harrison Ford. Like, the broken down, tired Harrison Ford is like this. I like this movie a lot. But again, I think it's got some flaws in that it starts to get away from itself a little bit. What did you guys think?
Alonso, you didn't like it nearly as much as I did. I'm going to rave about it, but you go first.
Okay, well, I think what Matt calls getting into its own head might better be described as up its own ass. But I agree with you. It is a gorgeous film. There are a lot of interesting actors in it doing really, I think, committed portrayals. You've got Dev Patel, you've got Sarita Chowdhury, you've got Joel Edgerton. And yet, this movie felt like it's a road movie that never gets anywhere. In particular, either literally or sort of spiritually. Barry Keoghan also in this. It felt to me very kind of meandering and very this sort of like. It's the kind of thing that some people will describe as poetic, which maybe it is, but there is bad poetry in the world. Like, I don't know. I never got a sense that writer director David Lowery had a real grasp of what he was trying to do with this take on the story. And so I think it ultimately just kind of winds up being about nothing. I kind of had the same problem with this film, Ain't Them Bodies Saints, which I was like, well, I love looking at this, but what's the point, and what is even your point in making it? Like, what drove you to tell this story this way? Why are we seeing this? Why is this being laid out the way it is? So I think that, yeah, there are a lot of component parts in this film that are impressive, but it just didn't add up to much, if anything, for me.
I absolutely loved it. I was floored by it over and over again. Like, there's a new scene and there's an establishing shot where I'm like, holy shit, that is a masterpiece shot right there. It's stunningly beautiful, whether it's in the fog or it's in like the misty forest, or it's, there's so much I don't want to give away that he experiences along the way on his travels. I have a theory as to what he is trying to say here. It takes place in the 14th century. he did not transport it to the modern day in any way, but I think it is a statement on fame and glory and being careful what you wished for, because he is young. Gawain is young and he is arrogant, and he might be telling himself that it's all for honor, but I think he kind of likes the fame that he gains over that year, right? Because the Green Knight is such an imposing and fearsome figure, and he's the only one who pipes up to take him on. And that gives him not notoriety, but like an exalted state within this, within court, within the kingdom. And when you see where he came from prior to that, yes, he's King Arthur's nephew, but he's like hanging out in brothels and he's drunk all day. And I think he views this quest as a means of self-promotion and like jumping up the social caste system.
Well, yeah, I mean, the one time anybody asks him about, well, so what does honor mean to you? He has like no answer at all. I mean,
he has no idea why he wants to be a knight, but he knows that he likes the attention. And so even along the way, the people he meets along the way, he's like affecting, he keeps saying, I'm not a knight, but he's affecting a certain like grandiosity along the way. I also have a theory, and I don't want to say it here because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but it takes a turn about halfway through with a long pan and then a long pan back. And I think that's a turning point that I don't want to go into further here. But if you look at it through the prism of something fundamentally has changed at that point, that's what I was operating from. Because from that point on, it becomes a lot more mystical and a lot more supernatural. And while the beginning part was rooted in recognizable, tangible, gritty, grimy reality, what happens after that becomes increasingly ethereal and bizarre. And I loved that. I love the challenge of that.
I agree with you that that's a turning point. I think I don't totally agree with you on what it means.
Okay.
And we'll talk about it
after.
Because I think I think there's a Chekhovian aspect to that.
Okay.
That comes up, but we'll talk about that.
Okay. I want to mention also, so Andrew Dross Palermo is the DP. So Bradford Young had shot some of his earlier films. He shot Anthem Body Saints, young Bradford Young, when he was just starting out. And Daniel Hart is the composer. And I love the score so much in the way that I love like Mika Levy's work, because it is unsettling and it's constantly challenging and surprising. And it is in no way traditional. It is like, maybe it's a lot of the kinds of instruments that might have existed back then, but the way in which they are being played and the way in which these like discordant melodies have been composed completely put you on edge from the very beginning. And I love that about it. I love Alicia Vikander in two very different roles. I just love being surprised. And yes, it's a little episodic and that might make it seem like it's meandering, but I never knew where this was going. And I was always blown away by it. And, it's just gorgeous and weird. I like weird. People ask me like, why do you like being a film critic? Like you have to see everything. And I'm like, because sometimes you get challenged and surprised. And that's the kind of movie this is for me.
I really liked Sean Harris in this as King Arthur, as like the broken down, weaker, it's very much in line with kind of the Fisher King myth that happens. There's a lot to like here. One of the things that it also does is this movie's really good about giving a sense of dread to the wilderness, right? Like this is the kind of movie you see some movies kind of set in a medieval area where, oh, look how beautiful the forest is and how lovely. And this is like, oh shit, this is dangerous. Don't go out there alone. And I liked that. I think it gets a little too episodic. And I think that there's a fair amount of fat here that could have been trimmed. But overall, I think that what Lowery's doing with this character and the question and the real quest that Gawain is on to fulfill what he finds in himself, I think it pays off. I think it takes a little too long to get there, but I think it does pay off.
Do you guys like David Lowery's films in general? Because there's a lot that's similar here to A Ghost Story.
I was mezzo on a Ghost Rider. I liked his Pete's Dragon quite a bit, actually, which is probably more and more looking like the atypical film from him. And he had something to do with Upstream Color, right? Didn't he shoot it or edit it or something? Maybe I'm remembering that wrong.
But you know who he's married to is oh gosh, Augustine Frizzell, who has a movie on Netflix right now called The Last Letter from Your Lover. So they both have movies out right now.
I need to see that because I was a big fan of Never Look Back. Yeah, I mean, Never Going Back. I hear what you're saying, Christy, and I think, that stuff's there, but I just don't think that it goes anywhere that I found all that interesting. My quip about this movie is it's like the funniest parts of Excalibur and the most epic parts of Monty Python and the Holy Grail matched together.
It is funny sometimes, though. It's like in an understated kind of wry way. It's funny sometimes.
I like the Barry Keoghan scenes because he walks on screen. I'm like, what's happening?
He's a weirdo, and bad things are going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah, he's got that niche sewn up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I went in excited to see this because this has been a very kind of buzzed about movie for a while, but it just it left me cold. I'm sorry.
Every time you saw the fox running through the forest, did you expect it was going to stop and rear its head and go, chaos reigns? I kept waiting for that. It never says chaos reigns. I was waiting. The fox is very cute. I loved it because I don't know that I have an idea what it's about, but I also love the ambiguity of it, and I love the challenge of it. And you're right, Matt. It has to be seen on the big screen. Like if you feel comfortable going to a movie, this is the movie to go see. Don't watch this at home. I guess it's streaming in a few weeks. It's only out theatrically now, right?
Right. I believe that.
Yeah. I almost want to say there is no ambiguity, and at least as far as what matters, but we'll talk about that.
Okay. And Dev Patel is great. If you never thought that Dev Patel was hot and sexy before,
where have you been? If you didn't think Dev Patel was hot and sexy,
I did not. I just didn't. But he's brooding and I guess he's heroic in his own way here. Anyway, it's really good. I'm saying 9.
5.5.
Okay. 7.
So our number is 7.2. The Green Knight is out in theaters now if you choose to take on this epic quest.
And that's up to you. Thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and check out our Patreon at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We are continuing with our recaps of season 2 of Ted Lasso, and this week our monthly off the menu, because our subscribers voted on it for us. We are talking about the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. Those are Patreon exclusives you can only get at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.